Hey guys, it's Spyros from the Self-Help Photographer. Let's talk about aperture. So far, we know that aperture is a way to control how much light comes into the camera. Remember that F number from the last video? Well, that number indicates the size of the aperture, or how big the opening is. Sometimes you see the number all by itself, and sometimes you see it with an F in front of it. Either way, we need to know how to read this number, and it works like this. The smaller the number, the bigger the opening. The bigger the number, the smaller the opening. This seems counterintuitive, so let me explain. The F number is a result of a mathematical equation. Now, don't freak out here. I'm just going to throw a little bit of math at you so we can understand what's happening. So to get your F number, what you have to do is take the focal length of your lens and divide it by the diameter of the opening inside the lens. That equation gives you the F number. Now I want you to grab your camera and take a look at the front of your lens. On the front of the lens you're going to see some numbers, and we're looking for these numbers right here. This is the focal range of your lens, or how much zoom you have. This is the first part of the equation in figuring out the aperture. The second part is the diameter of this opening inside the lens. For example, let's say you have a 50mm lens, and inside that lens your opening is 12.5 millimeters across. If you take 50 and divide it by 12.5, you get 4, which gives you an F number of 4. Now let's take that same 50mm lens, but now let's say we have an opening inside that lens with a diameter of 25 millimeters. When you divide 25 into 50, you get 2, or an F number of 2. So, bigger opening, smaller number. Grab your camera and look at your mode dial for an A or an AV, and put your camera in that mode. This is called Aperture Priority mode, and guess what? We're in the driver's seat now. Now look at your display and find your F number, and then look on top of the camera for your jog dial. On Canons it's usually on the top by the shutter button, and on your Nikons it's a lot of times right here where your thumb rests when you're holding the camera. Spin that dial, and on my Canon, when I spin it all the way to the left, I get my maximum aperture, or the biggest opening that I have. And when I spin the dial all the way to the right, I get my minimum aperture, or the smallest opening that I have. You might be wondering why you would want to control the aperture. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever taken a blurry photo? Do you know why it was blurry? It was blurry because the camera or the subject moved before the camera was able to finish recording the light for the picture. If you remember from the last video, the aperture and the shutter speed, they work together. So if we are able to open that aperture to let more light in, we can let that shutter close faster, meaning that we need less time for the camera to sit still or the subject to sit still. This is our first line of defense against blurry photos, a bigger aperture. There's another line of defense against blurry photos, and we're going to talk about that next video. So stay tuned. Now, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or you can hit me up on Twitter and Facebook. Now get out there and take some damn photos, and don't forget to like this video. See you guys next time.